First of all, I want to share this that I received. It's called 10 People You Should Never Marry. Saying goes, this bud's for you. Number one, people in the world. People in the world. This is not in your outline, but you might want to write these down. Tell them to get it together, then come holler at you. Number two, people not in the Word. People not in the Word. If they're not in it, it'll make it harder for you to be in it. Number three, people who will not worship. Don't spend no time with them. Witness to them, keep going. Because if they cannot expose themselves before God and become transparent, how can they become transparent before you? And if you're courting or dating someone who is not into church, don't walk, run from them. Number four, people who are constantly whining. People who are constantly whining. I only knew of one group called the Whinings, okay? Leave them alone. Number five, people who do not have the will to do work. Who do not have the will to work. Listen to this, sisters. Men should be working before they get married. Before. The job must also come with the pay stub. Hustling don't count.
Amen.
And if she's not working, brothers, before you get married, if she's not working but always has a way to pay for everything, you need to find out where the money's coming from. People who are not building wealth, number six. And obviously there are people that have financial problems. They may have debt, but they need to also have a plan on how together you're going to get back on track. Okay? Number seven, people who are not whole. People who are not whole. If you marry half a person, you're going to have half a marriage. People who are not whole. Number eight, people who are worrisome. Number nine, people who contribute to your spiritual warfare. If they're cursing you out, abusing you before you get married, that ought to be a sign. Amen. A sign. And then number 10, people who do not seek out your well-being. You know, a lot of times we get married and we think, well, you know, if I marry them, they'll change. Let me tell you now, if they messed up now, they're going to let their hair down after you get married. As you know, we've been talking about everything you need to know about male-female relationships, and we've been using the book Love and Respect by Dr. Emerson Eggerichs, and even this past week I've even had a chance to even communicate with them, and he was so overjoyed that we're using his book, and encourage us to continue. Notice this, write this down, very important. Many husbands interpret criticism as contempt, and contempt is something that men do not handle well. Contempt is something that men do not handle well. There are women who view themselves as little sweet dewdrops. You know, they're fine, but they look at their husband as being these big bears, and they can take anything. And they talk anyway. The truth is, however, a lot of men can't take any type of talk, no matter what size they may be, no matter how masculine or macho they may be. And emotionally, he is still vulnerable to what sounds like contempt. So what is it that men fear the most? They fear contempt and dishonor. Listen to the male fear of contempt is dramatized. It's dramatized even in the first chapter we read of Esther. But what was the fear? The wives would start to despise their husbands and defy them. So what was the result? The result would be that there would be no end to the contempt and disrespect throughout the entire empire that would be poured out. So make a note of this. Just as women fear being unloved, men fear being disrespected. As I said before, men know deep down that their wives love them, but they're not always sure if their wives like them or respect them. Most women would be willing to say, I just want somebody to love me, to make me feel special, to make me the most important one in life. Now, if a woman says that, I don't know what it is about this, but we don't say that that woman is arrogant. We say that that is a wonderful, normal thing for a woman. If a man says, I need respect, for some reason we say he's arrogant. I believe that men hold respect and honor as almost equal. A woman will talk to, a lot of times, the husband in the home in a way that a man would never talk to him. According to John Gottman's extensive research, 85% of husbands eventually stonewall their wives or just shut down communication altogether during conflict. Why? For a man, tension builds faster because his blood pressure and his heart rate raise quicker than a woman and stays up much longer. And during these tense exchanges, a wife's negative criticism can overwhelm the husband and he has little appetite to deal with it. And the wife sees such exchange as potentially increasing the love. She's trying to make the relationship right. And the husband's saying, hey, I don't want no trouble. I don't want no problems. I don't want no... So a lot of times, the man will shut down. And in an attempt to calm himself down, the husband will stonewall, become quiet, say nothing, go off by himself, and say something like, I'm trying not to react. And that's not making the relationship any better. Listen to this. Gottman states, such intense interactions can produce a vicious cycle, especially in marriage with high levels of conflict. The more wives complain and criticize, the more husbands stonewall, and the more husbands withdraw and stonewall, the more the wives complain and criticize. And he adds that if a wife becomes belligerent and contemptuous, the marriage often is in very serious danger, and if it continues, often ends up in divorce. And in the majority of cases, a wife who is in love with her husband will move toward him when she feels unloved. For example, let's say it's the first year of marriage, and he comes home late, and she's upset. She says, how can he be so insensitive? I'm working hard to fix and prepare dinner. And she is saying to herself, this is wrong. How can he be so unloving? And then as soon as he comes in the door, she proceeds, we need to talk. No, I don't think you heard me. We need to talk. And it's not what she's saying that's so bad. A lot of times it's the approach, it's the tone, and it's the same fashion that she would maybe use with a best girlfriend. So write this down. When women have conflicts with each other, they both usually verbalize their feelings. They share what is on their hearts because it instinctively they know it will eventually lead to reconciliation. And that's really what the thing is. It's not a matter of necessarily wanting to win arguments, but they're really basically wanting to reconcile this issue. And they don't want to go to bed and the thing hasn't been discussed. Many times, there's been situations where I just got sleepy. I didn't want to talk about it. So I said, I ain't talking about it. Conversation is over. I got in the bed, pulled up the covers. Next thing I knew, I felt something jump on top of me. And I ripped the covers back. It is not over. We're going to talk about it. And about the third time her head went around like that, I knew it's time to talk about it.